Just as I went to pick up a courier, the shared bicycle that I hadn't locked yet was stolen and ridden away. Seeing the billing amount rising rapidly, I locked the bike remotely. Unexpectedly, a few days later, an aunt with a cast on her arm led the police to make trouble at my door, claiming that she had an accident all because she rode my bike and asked me to be responsible. I laughed. Auntie, you rode my bike without permission. This is theft. Would you like to stay in the police station for 5 days first? And then we can talk about the rest? The aunt was stunned and wanted to reconcile. I laughed again. Want to reconcile? Too late. Early Saturday morning. My door was knocked loudly. The person knocking on the door seemed to have practiced iron palm, almost knocking off the paint on my security door. I irritably took off my eye mask, took out my earplugs, and walked angrily towards the door. Doesn't he know that disturbing others' sleep on rest days is asking for divine punishment? Seeing that the noise outside the door was getting louder and louder, and there was even a tendency to kick and smash the door, I quickly opened the door. The figure who was about to kick the door almost lost balance and fell in. Fortunately, he grabbed the policeman beside him and didn't fall on his face in front of me. Wait. The police? Yes. There were 2 policemen standing at the door. When I opened the door, one of them turned on the law enforcement recorder and asked me with a straight face, "Thiago, right?" I nodded in confusion. After all, anyone who is called by name by the police early in the morning will be confused. My eyes shifted to the old woman beside the policeman. The old woman looked 40 or 50 years old. At this moment, her arm was in a cast, and she was looking at me with hostility. When she saw me looking at her, she slapped on my door with her good hand. The sound was huge, as if she wanted to wake up all the neighbors. She looked at me, spitting everywhere, and pointed at me and scolded. "You little brat. Finally willing to open the door? A man is always so slow. Dare to do but not dare to take responsibility. You made others like this. But you can sleep soundly. How many consciences do you have? Look at what? If it weren't for you, could I have had an accident? Now it's good. My right hand is comminuted fracture. Now the police comrades are on my side. You have to pay for this medical expense whether you want to or not." Before I could retort, the policeman couldn't listen anymore. "Before the matter is clarified, don't swear here. Although you are the victim, in the end, the responsibility for this matter has to be shared equally by both of you." The old woman shrank her neck, muttered something, and took half a step back. But she still glared at me fiercely. I closed the door casually and was full of doubts. What responsibility? What's wrong? They explained briefly and neatly. Only then did I understand. It turned out that this troublemaker was named Shanta. A few days ago, she was riding a shared bicycle for a stroll. On the way home, the rear wheel suddenly locked up, and she was still on the motorway. Caught off guard, she fell to the ground with the bike. Her leg also hit the curb. Fortunately, the vehicle behind stopped in time. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this point, Shanta wiped the corners of her eyes. Maybe it's because my husband is blessing me from heaven. That's why I didn't die. Otherwise, even if I become a ghost, I won't let you go. It's all because of your broke and little yellow bike that hurt me. Let's talk about compensation quickly. Don't waste my time." I gave her a sidelong glance. In this era, we don't believe in feudal superstition anymore. And Auntie, I don't understand what you are saying. What little blue and little yellow? I haven't ridden it. Shanta was almost so angry that her mouth was crooked. Don't pretend here. I saw you take your things at the courier station, and then I rode your bike. I would recognize you even if you turned to ashes. I asked around for 3 days and finally found out your information. You are so bad-hearted at a young age. You actually dared to lock the bike on the street. Aren't you afraid of retribution? I rubbed the space between my eyebrows and looked at the police uncle. Police uncle. You heard it. She admitted that she stole the bike. What does it have to do with me? Is it locked by the customer service? Why are you looking for me instead of the shared bicycle company? To put it another way, even if I locked it. But this bike is out of my sight. I don't need it anymore. Can't I lock it if I don't need it? Then wouldn't I be occupying the vehicle? By the way, if she keeps scolding and insulting me like this, can I call the police? In fact, I remember this matter, she said. To be precise, I was deeply impressed. Because that day I was just having a bad luck. From morning to night, nothing was going well in work or life. First, the customer who had agreed suddenly stood me up. I lost a large amount of business performance for nothing. Then I was accidentally spilled with stains while eating. Not to mention the small things like being cut in line, when calling numbers at the being rounded down when buying things. I got off the bike and was too lazy to lock it. Anyway, it's just a matter of a blink of an eye. Could someone steal and ride it? Besides, there are other vehicles nearby. If you want to ride, just scan other ones. Any normal person wouldn't ride someone else's unlocked bike casually, right? Thinking of this, I got off the bike and planned to go directly to pick up things. But that day was just so unlucky. There was a new person at the courier, a nice smiling. It took at least 3 minutes to find each courier on average. By the time it was my turn, almost half an hour had passed. During this period, I communicated with the person behind me and came out to check from time to time. Fortunately, it was still there. When it rains, it pours. When I came out with 2 heavy couriers, the bike that I had been watching well was gone. I quickly took out my phone to look. At some point, my bike had already been pedaled 3 kilometers by a fast runner. I was stunned. The cars of different colors nearby were not touched. But my bike was ridden away. Thinking about it, there is only one reason. Probably because I took a chance and was in a hurry to pick up the courier and didn't lock the bike. That person looked for a long time and finally chose me as the victim. Coupled with a day of bad luck, I was furious. Helplessly, I could only ride another bike of a different color back. After going home and tittying up in a mess and dealing with work, I had time to look at the travel trajectory. Unexpectedly, this person probably thought that it was not easy to meet such a big sucker. After riding the bike, he didn't stop. Several hours passed. The bike actually had a movement trajectory all the time. It seemed that he was very satisfied with snatching this bike quickly. Not only was he exercising his body quickly but also turning left and right. The route was winding like an S, passing several blocks. Of course, my fare was also flowing. Although the money was not much, it was earned by me bit by bit. I hurriedly pressed the lock button on the page. The next second, a prompt popped up. Sorry. Your vehicle is in motion and is no longer in the dispatch area. It cannot be parked. I directly contacted the customer service. After explaining my intention, the other party asked me to wait for a moment and confirmed the status of the vehicle with me again. I said directly, the bike is broken. I can't lock it. And it always shows that it is in motion. As for the dispatch fee, I can pay. Please lock it for me quickly. Otherwise, this money flowing bit by bit is not a good thing. After several negotiations, the customer service forcibly locked the bike for me. But unfortunately, after the software stopped billing, I still spent a high amount of dispatch fee and riding fee. I was so angry that I almost bit my back teeth. But I didn't expect that this bike thief was actually an aunt. And she even dared to take the initiative to make trouble at my door. As the saying goes, people are doing things and heaven is watching. She got her retribution. I couldn't even hold back my smile. At this moment, Shanta, who had just been taught a lesson by the police, was standing at my door in a disheveled manner, standing with one hand on her hip. She looked at me angrily. She glared at me. You still have the nerve to laugh. Put yourself in my shoes. If this was your mother who was injured, could you still laugh? I was amused. Sorry, Auntie. My mother wouldn't do such sneaky things. Your analogy is not valid. The aunt was speechless. She took out her already cracked phone, tapped it for a long time and handed it to me. This is the whole process of my injury. Take a good look at it. See if you feel ashamed. Do you feel sorry for me? I took a closer look and almost laughed out loud. In the video, Shanta wearing a black top with red flowers was happily riding my bike. While enjoying the scenery, she was pedaling fast. After seeing that the Numan tourist vehicles were a bit congested, she even blatantly ignored the traffic police and directly turned onto the motorway. The driver behind honked twice. She still thought that he scared her. She was pedaling fast. Suddenly, the rear wheel lofted up directly. She fell to the ground with the bike. If the vehicle behind hadn't observed in time and stepped on the brakes hard, Shanta probably wouldn't be able to live to confront me now. In a state of shock and unbearable pain, she lay on the ground and refused to get up. It was only when the traffic police and kind-hearted people called 120 together and moved her to the Numan tourist lane that she felt better. I shrugged. So what? Big sister. You said that I rode from the courier station. I haven't finished using it yet. And I didn't lock it. Then this is theft. I am the victim. Right? Besides, there are surveillance cameras nearby. Just go and check the surveillance cameras. Now you come to my door and scold me without distinguishing right from wrong. What does this mean? I am also wronged. Can I call the police? She snorted coldly and put her phone back in her bag. The surveillance camera at her door is just a decoration. It turns on and off from time to time. But it didn't work that day. If there was evidence, I would let people take you away directly. How could you stand here and talk to us? I saw you get off the bike and walk in. Could it be false? You didn't lock the bike. I just rode it away. So what? After I broke my bone and got a cast. I blocked you here for 3 days. Yesterday, I finally saw you go out of the community to and from work. Only then did I take a photo of you and ask which building you live in. It was so difficult to find you. Do you want to deny it? No way. I almost laughed out loud. According to what you said, this is not riding away. This is stealing. You didn't spend a penny. You rode almost out of the city. Why didn't you go abroad? Now something happened. You put all the responsibility on me. Why? Am I your mother? Shanta was so angry that she raised her hand and was about to hit me. I didn't dodge either. In the next second, the policeman pulled her hand and pulled her back. Enough. You are all adults. What's the use of having a moment of verbal pleasure? Are you here to handle things or to fight? You come with us. Just clarify this matter. For specific matters, we can sit down and talk slowly. I nodded. Went home, changed my clothes, and walked out of the building door. As soon as I walked out of the building door, some morning exercise uncles and aunts who were watching the excitement surrounded me. Before I could speak, Shanta snorted coldly. What's wrong? How dare you ask what's wrong? He must be too embarrassed to say what he did. Brothers and sisters, you judge. I was riding a bike when this little brat locked it for me. Is there anyone who does things like this? So vicious at a young age. Be careful that your child will have no anus in the future. I couldn't hold back. If my child has an anus or not. Don't you know by touching yourself? She thought that she was covered in wounds and shed a few tears. The uncles and aunts would side with her. She was wrong. After a moment of silence, everyone was excited. Where are you from? We haven't seen you before. How could you do such a thing? Don't make trouble. Yes. Looking at your unreasonable appearance, you must not be a good person. Police comrades, you must investigate clearly before speaking. That's not right. How could he lock it when you were riding? Could it be that you were riding someone else's bike? Then you deserve it. I heard it a long time ago. You have been swearing and scolding others. It's because others are too lazy to argue with you. What kind of old shrew? Hurry up and go back to your community. Shanta was stunned. I was amused. Uncles and aunts. It's okay. I believe that the police uncle can clear my name. People are doing things and heaven is watching. Don't be angry. People who are cheap will be punished by heaven. Yes. She is not from our community. How could she know that I was a volunteer for a while during a special period, and got to know a group of people door to door? For those uncles and aunts. Compared with this old shrew who talks nonsense. I directly became a victim. Amid the scolding of the uncles and aunts, Chantal Endon slipped away faster than anyone else. After arriving at the police station, we began to sit down and reconcile. Her demand was for me to pay compensation. If I refused, she would let me go to jail for intentional injury. My demand was also simple. She compensated me for the dispatch fee and fare and apologized to me in person and the community. Under the mediation of the police. No matter what we said, the two of us couldn't reach an agreement. No one was willing to give in. Especially Shanta, crying with snot and tears, pointing at her arm in a cast and constantly complaining. I was annoyed. I scratched my ear. Okay. To put it another way. Even if you were riding my unlocked bike and I locked it later, then how could I see whether you were riding or stopped? Isn't it normal for me to lock my bike when I don't ride it anymore? What does your riding on the motorway have to do with me? If we really want to discuss it one by one. You stole my bike that I was riding. You violated my right to use it. You even wanted to take advantage of me, and let me pay for your fare. You violated my property. In this situation, it's just that you tried to take advantage, but ended up suffering losses. If there was no such thing, were you still planning to push the bike home and lock it up and treat it as your own bike? Then how can I calculate my loss? It's reasonable for me to ask for an apology, right? By the way, let me give you a popular science about the process of riding a shared bicycle. Look for a bike. Scan the code. Confirm. Ride. Park. And lock. You didn't even scan the code. How can you look everywhere? I stunned her with my witty words. Even the policeman nodded frequently. Thinking about it. Since there have been shared bicycles, there have been many such things. There is always such a kind of person who wants to take advantage everywhere. Unopened couriers of others. Unlocked cars parked on the side of the road. Quickly step on the money accidentally dropped by others. Or take some things from other people's stalls and steal them home. There are countless such people. In a big forest, there are all kinds of birds. People's greed is endless. I looked at Shanta pitifully. I just don't know if your family will feel ashamed when they see your current appearance. Hearing me say this, she bit her teeth and didn't say a word. The policeman mediated with her for a while. Only then did Shanta relent. Then you also have to bear half of the responsibility. If you hadn't ridden the bike over without locking it and let me see it, I wouldn't have thought of riding a bike for a stroll. Later, I fell because of you. Even out of humanitarianness, you have to bear some responsibility. Right? I was amused by the shameless words. This is clearly the victim-blaming theory. I leaned back on the chair. After thinking carefully, I nodded. Okay. I can be responsible, and I can apologize to you. But your medical expenses have nothing to do with me at all. Apologizing is my greatest sincerity. If you accept it, you accept it. If you don't accept it, we can just waste time here. I have plenty of time. After saying that, I slouched down lazily and closed my eyes to rest. Shanta still wanted to say something but was interrupted by the policeman. For most of the day. Don't you understand yet? In the end, this is your responsibility. Don't make trouble with others. It's meaningless. It's not that you can ride any unlocked bike on the street. Then why don't you take the things sold on the roadside stalls? Fortunately, this is not someone's own bike. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to accuse you of theft. Stealing big or small is stealing. You can't not understand this principle, right? Since you have such a mentality of taking advantage, you should bear the consequences yourself. If you refuse to reconcile, we will prepare to file a case. For this matter between you two, we will discuss each one separately. You stole someone else's bike that was being ridden. It is a kind of theft. You will be detained for more than 5 days. You rashly locked the bike and caused the other party to fall. Although you didn't know it, it still happened. We also have to educate you. Fine you a little. Learn from experience and lock the bike at any time in the future. After such a speech, Shanta not only had to face detention, but also was punished more severely than me. Okay. I'll pay for the medical expenses myself. She was not reconciled. Forget it. Forget it. I admit bad luck. That's it. I accept the mediation. Apologizing. Apologizing is really unlucky. She looked at me angrily. Sorry. Shanta. This matter is all my problem. When both sides were sitting upright and preparing to apologize to each other, I looked at her steadily. It's because I didn't lock the bike in time. That's why this bike seduced you and made you ride it. I'm really sorry. So, big sister, you accidentally saw my bike, then accidentally rode on it, and accidentally pedaled several kilometers to exercise. Finally, accidentally locked the bike and accidentally broke your bone. Is that what you mean? Don't be so careless next time. My sarcastic apology made Shanta's face turn red and then blue. In the end, she could only spit out the word nothing from between her teeth. If looks could kill, I would probably have died 10,000 times already. Of course. Shanta also apologized to me and gave me 20 yuan for the fare. When paying the money, she was reluctant. You said that you are at work. You still care about my 20 yuan. You can't be so stingy. I snatched the bill from her hand. That makes sense. You are really a Finobot Since you think 20 yuan is not much, then give me another 20 yuan. Her face changed suddenly. I smiled. After signing, I left the police station without looking back. This time, she really had to swallow her teeth and blood. After I went back, many people surrounded me and asked about the situation. After hearing me briefly repeat it, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Look, I said you are not this kind of person. This woman is so immoral. She actually blames others wrongly. Yes. She doesn't look like a good person at all. No wonder she would do such a thing. I will spit on her every time I see her in the future. I won't tolerate her. Don't worry. From now on, we will be your eyes. If she wants to take revenge on you deliberately, we will go up and help you. There is strength in numbers. I don't believe she is not afraid. I smiled. After thanking everyone, I went home and took a nap. Just when I thought this little episode was over and the matter had come to an end, I didn't expect this restless Shanta to start making trouble again. A few days later on a working day, when I was receiving a customer in the room and talking about bank cooperation and other issues, the door of the conference room was suddenly knocked. My colleague looked at me with a bad expression. Brother Tao. Someone is looking for you outside. I was confused. After saying goodbye to the customer temporarily, I walked out and saw Shanta at a glance. When she saw me come out, she waved at me and called me outside. Surprised, right? Your news is quite easy to find. I found you in no time. I asked around indirectly. Finally, I found out your work address. I heard that you are in business and talk about finance. You don't want your reputation to be ruined, right? In this way. Let's not talk about the matter at the police station for now. My arm hurts so much now that I can't do any heavy work and I have no source of income. You pay me 5,000 yuan and it's over. I will never come to find you again. Okay? I pointed at the surveillance camera above my head. Big sister. Don't you think that just because you called me out and blackmailed me, no one will know? Our company is full of high-definition surveillance cameras that can hear sounds. You are breaking the law. Do you know? Shanta's face changed suddenly. She subconsciously looked at the surveillance camera but still stuck out her neck and said, Surveillance camera? What surveillance camera? I'm not afraid of you. I'm here to ask for my medical expenses. What's wrong? If you don't give it to me, I will make a big fuss in your company first. I nodded, pressed 110 and was ready to call the police at any time. Okay. Don't you also know my company now? Go and make trouble. Shanta made up her mind. Simply went all out. She messed up her hair, shouted and ran into the office. Come on. Your company's employee hit and run and beat someone. He took advantage of me and wanted to rape me. The company bullies poor people. Do your leaders care about this? Do you use such employees? Looking at her appearance, I pressed my eyebrows heavily. In more than 20 years of life, this is the first time I have seen such a shameless person. In the company, all colleagues, leaders, and customers were stunned when they heard this. As it went to smiting adult male, where did my eyes grow that I would violate a 40 or 50-year-old old woman with a cast? Everyone looked at this middle-aged woman who was making a scene and was stunned. She tearfully accused me with her Oscar-worthy acting skills. For a while, she said that I deliberately locked her bike while she was riding. She almost died under the wheels. For a while, she said that she had brought the police to the door. But I still didn't admit my mistake. I was being unreasonable. For a while, she said that I wouldn't apologize. I sarcastically taunted her, making her unable to step down at the police station. Her words were confused. But everyone was not stupid and could understand. This is clearly someone who came to make trouble after failing to extort money. Some colleagues, fearing to disturb the company's customers, endured their anger and softly asked her to go to the office first and said not to affect the company environment. Shanta thought we were afraid of her and sat down on the ground with a thud and cried even harder. Don't touch me. My arm is still broken. I came here today just to ask for an explanation. Tao is your company's employee. None of you colleagues and bosses can escape. If he doesn't pay compensation, you pay for him. Otherwise, I will come to make trouble every day. None of you employees and customers will be able to talk about business. It has to be said that don't easily fight with big sisters. She was probably really out of control. Several young men like us couldn't hold her back at all. As soon as we touched her, she attacked our lower bodies, like she had eaten crazy dog meat. Who would dare to approach? Her crying was extremely loud and scared the customers out, including my customer. Boss Lin frowned. Xiao Tao, if your company is doing business, it's better to deal with these internal problems first. Saying that, he left without looking back. I didn't expect her to be so destructive. I chased after him and said good things for a long time. Only then did he agree that there was still room for negotiation. But the prerequisite is that the commission earned by our company has to be reduced by another 20. I was hesitating when Aunt Ma chased out from the room and pointed at our backs and scolded. You deserve it. Shameless thing. This is the consequence of not giving me compensation. It doesn't matter if you lose this business. In the future, every business of yours will have my shadow. Like going to work. Right? Then I will let you starve to death. You are a hopeless thing. If I were your mother and had a child like you, I would simply bump my head and die. Do you think working in such a crappy company can make you rich? You are just a thing that works for others and flatters them. My son is in the system. He is 10 times better than you. Such a small company, guarding such a few crappy customers and treating them like grandpas. How arrogant you were in front of me. Be as arrogant as that in front of others. I didn't expect it. You are also looking down on people. Brother, let me tell you, choosing their company is a wrong choice. I couldn't hold back and was about to go up and slap her twice. Boslin pulled me back with one hand, looked at me meaningfully and then at her. Did you dig up her ancestral grave? She actually scolded so harshly. I gave a wry smile and roughly told him the cause and effect. Boslin suddenly realized. The matter is over. Then you are also a victim. How could she have the nerve to come to the company and make trouble? With her making such a fuss. Won't you be unable to work anymore? I nodded and sighed. Boslin paused and patted my shoulder. Forget it. Let's consider this as my kindness this time. I won't make concessions in the future. Let's sign this contract now. I won't ask for the previous commission either. Let's follow the original terms. While I was stunned, Boslin looked behind me. Thank you, Auntie. If you hadn't chased out and made such a fuss again, I wouldn't have wanted to sign the contract and pay so quickly. What others did is right. It's okay for you to be unreasonable. But you still dare to come to the company and make such a scene. I see that the one who is sick is not him. It's you. If you really have no money, you can go downstairs and sit with a bowl. Let out your energy a swearing. Maybe you can get rich. Let your son in the system see how his mother embarrasses him. After saying that, he walked straight back to the company and called me to sign the contract. We were all stunned by this turn of events. Of course, including Auntie. Unexpectedly, with such a fuss. We really played the sympathy card and signed the contract successfully by a stroke of luck. After signing the contract, Boslin smoked a cigarette and said, when encountering such people, you can't just wait and do nothing. You think it's over when the matter is dealt with. But others don't think so. I can sign the contract purely out of sympathy. I was harassed by such people once before. Later, I found some people, set a trap and directly locked her up. Xiao Tao, do you need it? I quickly shook my head. No, boss. I can solve it. Boslin smiled. Okay. I believe you. But next time we cooperate, it's better to deal with such problems first. I nodded gratefully. If it weren't for his momentary soft heart Dennison signing the contract with me, with today's incident being such a mess, it would be a miracle if the boss didn't fire me. Probably because she felt that her being unreasonable and my being calm formed a sharp contrast. After seeing off Boslin, Shanta calmed down a bit. But before she could scold me again, our boss came out to take charge. Before, he probably really had the intention of firing me. That's why he hid in the office and pretended to be a coward. The boss praised me in public and directly told the finance department to give me 5 commission on this order. Shanta was so angry that her mouth was crooked. She clearly came to make trouble. But it turned out to be a commendation meeting for me. At the end, the boss seemed to think of something. He stepped forward and patted Shanta on the shoulder. Auntie, I think you are very prosperous for our company. I thought about it. If it really doesn't work, you can come often in the future. Of course, I can't give you a salary, but I can reimburse you for your transportation expenses. If you still like to steal and ride other people's bicycles, that's fine too. But be careful and don't be careless like this time. If you don't want to come, that's fine too. I will ask someone to make a memorial tablet. Worship you every day. Burn some paper and incense for you. Offer some fruits and peanuts and things like that. Let you bless us too. Okay? Shanta couldn't catch her breath on the spot. Covered her chest and sat down on the sofa. She pointed at the boss. You are cursing me to die. There is no good person in your company. You are really a bunch of black-hearted people. The boss was not like me. He didn't care no matter how she verbally attacked him. Hearing this, his whole face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Xiao Tao, when there are troublemakers, go and call the police. I crisply replied, yes, and dialed the police phone. Hello. This is Kiang Xin Company on Yingfeng Road. Someone is making trouble and smashing things in the company. It affects the normal operation of our company. Please come quickly. Shanta didn't expect that I really dared to call the police. She got up from the sofa with a jerk and glared angrily. When did I smash things? Doesn't your company have surveillance cameras? You are making a false police report. You know? Your boss and employees are bullying me together. And you are even filing a false complaint first. Is there any justice? What's wrong with the police coming? I won't leave. What can you do to me? Some colleagues tried to pull her up. But Shanta was ungrateful, and kicked them several times. I couldn't stand it anymore. Pushed aside the crowd. rushed directly to the bathroom, picked up a mop dipped in toilet water, and rushed out. Pushed it in front of her face and looked at her coldly. "Will you leave?" Everyone was startled. The strong smell made Shanta turn over and run out. What are you going to do?" I pushed the mop forward again. "Nothing. Just maintaining the daily order of our company. Now, leave quickly. Can't you understand human language?" Shanta got up in a panic without saying a word. She was forced out by my mop all the way to the door before she stopped. Of course. She dodged all the way. Accidentally. She knocked over our company's potted plant. "Look. Isn't this smashing things?" I stood guard at the door like a door god and stared at her inferently. It seemed that she was not as fearless as I thought. Before long, there was a rustling sound from the elevator. When the two policemen came out and saw the scene, they were a bit confused. To cooperate with the investigation, I, the front desk lady and Shanta all went to the police station. Of course. With the office surveillance as evidence. Plus, although I picked up the mop, I didn't touch her. At most, it was just to scare her out of self-defense. Although it was a bit excessive, it was understandable. I didn't make any mistakes. The police just gave us verbal education and let us leave. On the contrary, Shanta was already in the police station for the second time. Naturally, she was taken away and talked for a long time. But I think it's nothing more than the risks and consequences of extortion and creating trouble. Through the glass, you could still see her expression of not caring at all. The front desk lady was a bit worried. "Brother Tao, I heard that she knows where you live. Although you are a man, you have to be careful. What if she has bad intentions towards you?" I scolded her with a laugh. But she did remind me. This matter can't be left like this. Since she can make trouble for me, why can't I make trouble for her? To deal with such a rogue, you have to use even more rogue methods. To completely solve this matter, I took annual leave from the company. I will go back to work when this matter is resolved. I know that although this matter ended successfully by accident, Shanta went to make trouble. In the end, it was still because of me. The boss will definitely have some complaints about me in his heart, more or less. I am wondering, what era is it now? How can there still be people who put the cause and effect on others? If it weren't for her being greedy for small advantages and stealing the bike, how would she get injured? How could she come to make trouble with me several times? When resting at home, I also inquired about this so-called Shanta. She lives in an old and dilapidated small house 3 blocks away from our community. But strangely, although the community is in a good location, there are no neighbors upstairs and downstairs her house. It is said that there were originally, but later, they were all forced to move away under her various strange actions. The house couldn't be rented out for a long time. The landlord just gave up. This was a bargain for her. Usually, she picks up some cardboard boxes and garbage and piles them up in the corridor. When there is no more space on her floor, she puts them upstairs and downstairs casually. It is said that in summer, mice and cockroaches often run out from those garbage, making the whole building in a state of panic. Anyone who had a way out moved away. The people who had no time, no money and no energy to move away would also look at her with hostility. But Shanta lived a carefree life alone, and never cared about others' eyes. I touched my chin. It can be said that not only do I hate her, but the other residents of the whole building hate her even more than I do. I ran around upstairs and downstairs for a day and added all the residents on the 6 floors as friends. We also pulled a group and named it Avengers League. The old and dilapidated small house has no surveillance cameras. Everyone basically hides at home after work and has no nightlife. It is very convenient to act at night. For several days in a row, I either blocked the keyhole of her house with chewing gum, or smashed stinky eggs on the doormat in front of her house. I even stuffed some bugs like spiders and salamanders through the half-open and half-closed door crack. I didn't originally want to retaliate against her like this, but she was relentless and almost ruined my business and work. How could I not let her suffer a little? I'm not a pushover. In those days, people in our group often posted videos of Shanta ranting and cursing madly at her doorstep. The rest of us just watched it for fun. Which son of a bitch threw garbage and blocked the keyhole at my doorstep? If you have the guts, come at me openly instead of playing dirty tricks behind my back. What kind of ability is it to play tricks secretly? What's the difference between this and throwing things from a height? You are targeting me, right? Doesn't the property management care? Doesn't the police care? I want to check the surveillance cameras. I want to sue all of you. Although she vented her anger. If I let her have an easy night, I would lose. Looking at her jumping up and down crazily. Our group was filled with laughter. It's so funny. You didn't see her like that. It's really retribution. Suddenly feeling a sense of pleasure. What's going on? How about I buy some fertilizer and splash it on her security door tomorrow? Cool story. When she made my mom so angry that she had high blood pressure. She wasn't like this. It's so satisfying. After so many years, my anger is finally vented. Thank you so much. Towsy. As soon as this was said, I was so scared that I quickly the other person in the group. Thank me, for what? Don't say that. This is what Shanta deserves. Everyone gave likes one after another. Shanta was targeted so severely that she was almost depressed. Naturally, she had no time to find trouble for me. I asked for leave from my leader, and went back to work step by step. After all, money still needs to be earned and food still needs to be eaten. After a period of rest and adjustment, plus being in a good mood, I was doing very well. But looking at Shanta, she wasn't so lucky. Probably after the neighbors around me were organized by me like this. The beasts in their hearts completely erupted. The hatred accumulated for many years also erupted. Some of them threw garbage at her doorstep. Some stuffed business cards and small advertisements into her or crack. Some even accidentally dropped a cigarette, but lit the cardboard boxes she had stored. Fortunately, Shanta saw the fire outside the window when she got up at night. She ran back and forth by herself and managed to put out the fire with pots of water. Otherwise, a fire would have set the whole building on fire. The next day, someone reported it to the fire department. On the grounds that she piled up flammable debris randomly and almost caused a disaster. They came from afar and found her. Shanta was both scared and angry. She called the police every now and then. Unfortunately, the police had no way either. Everyone came and went in a hurry. How could there be evidence to prove who did those things? Out of kindness, the police reminded her that she could buy a surveillance camera and put it on her door, which would also be an extra guarantee. But Shanta not only didn't appreciate it but also looked disdainful. It's easy for you to say. Will you buy it for me? I don't have much money every month. Now my arm is injured and not recovering well. I can't do any work. What will I eat if I buy a surveillance camera? Or, do you have cooperation with some surveillance camera company? I understand. Are you trying to get a kickback? Did you do all these things at my door? You are still a policeman. I think you are a thief crying stop thief. The policeman looked at her for a while, shook his head and left. Insane. Shanta was stunned. What insane? Who are you scolding? I will report you. I will complain about you. Just a crappy policeman. What are you so proud of? But the policeman had already got in the car and driven away. She could only be furious at the exhaust fumes. When she was targeted for the nth time, Shanta could no longer control her anger. At 8 o'clock in the evening, when there were the most people, she took a loudspeaker and walked out of the building door. Lykel and lady. She looked up and sprayed at the upstairs. For such a long time. I am really fed up with your unprovoked bullying. Although I did something wrong to you before. You don't have to bully me like this. Old woman. I just opened your courier by mistake a few times and accidentally broke a bottle of something land that you just bought. It's just a crappy cosmetic. I'll pay you back. Last time, someone saw that it was you who pasted the small advertisement on your door on my door. How immoral are you? The young couple on the second floor. Isn't it just that there are mice in the corridor and scared your little girlfriend? Don't think I don't know. The hole in my door was blocked by your black-hearted person. Be careful when you go out next time. Don't sprain your legs. The person on the top floor. I don't go up there usually. At most. I just contradicted you twice in the owner group and accidentally scratched your car. Driving such an expensive car. What's wrong with a couple of scratches? Are you so stingy? Arguing with an old woman like me. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at if it gets out? And you, the old lady on the first floor. If it weren't for you who jumped up and opposed installing the elevator at the beginning, we would have installed the elevator long ago. You are a selfish bitch. I just accidentally put my garbage at your doorstep a few times. Do you have to join forces with these people to retaliate against me? Let me tell you. Although I don't have evidence and I don't know who exactly did these things. But if it continues like this, I will sue all of you in this building. Then even if you want to cry, you won't have a place to cry. She was cursing loudly below. People in other buildings also looked over. But the more Shanta cursed, the more excited she became. Finally, the young couple couldn't stand it anymore. The man stuck his head out and retorted. Are you sick? You have done so many bad things and been retaliated against. Now you are blaming it on us. The most shameless person is you, right? If you have the ability, go ahead and sue us. You shameless old thing. Are we afraid of you? If you say one more word, believe it or not, I will go down and slap you. Shanta shrank her neck when someone suddenly yelled at her. You, what are you yelling for? Are you angry because I hit the mark? If it wasn't you guys, who else could have done such things? There was silence in the air for a few seconds. Shanta slapped her forehead and remembered. That's right. In addition to you guys, there is also that poor toad who angered me, disrupted the situation, and called the police to arrest me. Wait. I will fight him to the death. Saying that, she ran out of the community without looking back. This news was told to me by my companions in the Avengers League on the phone. They asked me to be mentally prepared and said that Shanta was probably coming to take revenge on me. I agreed repeatedly and didn't forget to ask them all to quit the Avengers League group and delete my contact information. I disbanded the group without leaving any trace. I don't know how she rushed over. In short, within 5 minutes, my door was knocked loudly. Along with it was Shanta's angry voice. Damn it. You little brat. How can you be so black-hearted? What organization? You must have misunderstood. I am just a worker. Unlike you who are unemployed and have plenty of time. I don't have that kind of time. Shanta was so angry that she rushed into my house and picked up the stereo on the entrance cabinet and was about to throw it on the ground. Don't talk sarcastically to me. I have experienced your sharp tongue. At first glance, you are not a good thing. Look. I will smash your home. I nodded and raised my phone. Okay. Friendly reminder. This is a housewarming gift from my friend. The market price is 57,000 yuan. I remind you first. Shanta paused, probably knowing the valuation of these electronic products. She put down the stereo and turned to look at the ornaments on the side. I understood her. She was trying to find a cheaper thing to smash. Before she could find it, I locked the door behind me, picked up the baseball bat placed in the corner and weighted up and down in my hand. You don't smash it? Then it's my turn? Actually, this should be considered self-defense, right? Saying that, I swung the bat hard at her. Shanta let out a scream. The sound-activated lights in the corridor were lit up several floors. The baseball bat stopped 3 fingers away from her. First, I really didn't dare to hit. In case I hit something bad, I would also have to go to jail. For such a person, it's not worth it. Second, she peed her pants. I disgusting smell of fishy urine came. Shanta sat down on the ground, sat in her own urine, covered her head and shivered. Under her was a suspicious puddle of water. She just huddled there and cried. While crying, She also had a bit of grievance. What did I do wrong? I am a woman. I am clearly the victim. Why are all of you treating me like this? Just beat me to death. Eat me to death so that I can reunite with my husband. Looking at her appearance, I sighed deeply. Big sister, why do you think like this? From the beginning to now. Wasn't it you who found trouble with us first? People are doing things and heaven is watching. All bad consequences will be punished. You bullied this and that in the community before. People are not afraid of you. They just don't want to bother with you. You see, even when you meet me now, you are so scared. In the future, if you really meet someone who doesn't care about life or a criminal who just got out of prison and doesn't mind going back again, what will you do? Shanta, ask yourself, do you really want to die? People should let things go and leave some leeway for others and themselves. Why be so aggressive? This world doesn't revolve around only you. Nor should others do what you say. When will you change those little bad habits and be friendly to others? Will these things still happen? I don't know how much she listened. I took a deep look at her. You can go. Shanta raised her head. Her eyes were red from crying. Go? Where can I go? I smiled. Big sister. This is my home. Do you really want to live with me? Shanta was crying in hiccups. She seemed a bit reluctant to leave. She muttered and asked me. Although I am wrong. But are you guys right? If it weren't for you suddenly locking the bike and making me fracture, would I ask you to pay for the medical expenses? You are good. You went to our community and pulled a group of people to gang up on me. A widow. Young man. You also have a mother. You also have sisters. You will also have a wife in the future. Treating me like this. You are a bit too cruel. I rubbed the space between my eyebrows. So, what do those people you mentioned have to do with this matter? I do have a mother, sisters, and a wife. But if they extort others like this outside, I will treat them equally. She shrank her neck and stood up trembling. Lie. Give me some money. Then we will be even. From now on, I will never come to find you again. You won't have to see me again. Your work and family will not be disturbed. Okay? I raised my eyebrows and looked at her. How much do you want? Shanta bit her lip. 3,000. 3,000. Okay? It's less than your monthly salary. You can afford it. Right? Indeed. I can afford it. But why should I give it? From beginning to end in this matter, I was just defending myself properly. In deep thought. I didn't speak. And neither did she. I didn't move. And neither did she leave. In the next second, my hand touched the bat. Shanta was terrified. Killing is illegal. Don't come over. I silently rolled my eyes and hid the baseball bat back in the bedroom. In fact, earlier when they tipped me off in the group, for self-defense, I had already called the police. Now estimating the time. The police should be coming soon. I smiled helplessly. Sorry. Now, even if you want to leave, you can't. Before she had time to ask me what I meant exactly, the door was pulled open by an external force. Several policemen broke in. I quickly stepped back half a step and pointed at her. This is my home. She broke into my house and wanted to smash my things. And she even urinated and defecated everywhere in my house. Look. The obvious water stains on the ground and Shanta's wet pants were my best evidence. Shanta was stunned and didn't even have time to defend herself twice. When being taken away by the police, she turned her head and glared at me fiercely. You set a trap to deceive me. Fine. Well done. The fingerprints on the vase, the traces on the ground, and the messy appearance of my home had already determined the outcome. Shanta was a frequent visitor to the police station. This time, waiting for her was more than just verbal education. Legally, breaking into a private residence is a serious crime. Probably giving up. Shanta admitted all the facts. But she also said that it was me and other people in the community who provoked her first. She was also defending herself properly. But she just said it without any evidence. The policeman who was slandered by her for taking kickbacks rolled his eyes. Let's talk about the matter. Even if you had some quarrels and conflicts. Is this the reason for you to break into someone's house and hit people and urinate and defecate in someone's house? Shanta's face stiffened. I didn't urinate and defecate everywhere. That's because he hit me. The policeman sneered. Why aren't you sleeping at your own home at night and running to someone else's home? Breaking into a private residence is no different from being a thief. Even if you are hit. It is also a kind of self-defense on another level. What are you doing if not looking for trouble? The two of them confronted each other for a long time. Eventually, Shanta resigned. I know I was wrong. This time I was impulsive. I won't look for trouble anymore. I will live a good life. Can you let me go? I don't want to go to prison. The policeman turned his gaze to me. That depends on whether the party chooses to pursue it. I frowned. What will happen if I pursue it? What will happen if I don't pursue it? The policeman said that if you pursue it, it will be dealt with severely and you will be sentenced. If you don't pursue it, it will be considered a settlement. Detaining for 3 to 5 days as a warning is enough. Looking at Shanta's pitiful appearance, I sighed. Don't pursue it. Let it be. Before she could be happy, I continued. But I have a prerequisite. You have to write me a guarantee that you will not approach my life in the future. Especially not disturb my life. Learn a lesson and be a better person. What do you think? In order not to go to prison. She nodded vigorously. Yes. Yes. I will write it now. Do you have pen and paper? The policeman cooperatively brought pen and paper. After the matter was settled, the policeman took her away again. Judging from the situation, she probably had to be detained for a few days to dampen her arrogance. When leaving, I looked back again. Shanta didn't look back. She seemed to have suddenly aged more than 10 years. Under the leadership of the policeman, her figure gradually disappeared. Postscript. After this matter was over, I never saw her again. Because no serious consequences were caused. She was released after being detained for a few days. After coming out, she didn't look for me either. According to the person on the 4th floor, Shanta has restrained herself a lot since she went back. She sold a wave of cardboard boxes that occupied the corridor and fire protection area. The remaining unsaleable ones were all pulled back home. She neither sings loudly at night to disturb people, nor casually makes trouble and scolds others. But usually there are still some petty thefts and strange actions. It is still very difficult to completely change her. I understand very well. After all, she has lived like this for so many years. It would be strange if she could change her nature all at once. For Shanta, as long as she doesn't cause trouble, other neighbors are still very tolerant. After all, neighbors see each other every day. It's not interesting to make things too tense. Just be moderate. In fact, everyone's demands on her are very simple. As long as she doesn't disturb others, it's enough. Perhaps after being taken to the police station several times and being detained for a few days this time, Shanta can learn a little lesson. Later, I heard that she found a job as a dishwasher in a restaurant. She was so busy every day that she didn't even have time to disturb my life. Even when she went home, she had to rush back under the starlight. Once, when I was buying groceries, I accidentally met Shanta, who was about to go to work at the entrance of the market. Her footsteps paused, but she still passed by me without looking at me, as if she didn't know me at all. That's fine. How many huge conflicts can't be resolved by time?